Welcome back to another Sunday prep day. If you're new here, every Sunday I prep for the week. So that means cutting all my vegetables and making things that take a little bit of time. So today I'm going to make a tomato soup, I'm going to make some pulled pork, and I'm going to make a salsa. And yeah, let's just get started with chopping. I always start with my onions, and we'll go over the meal plan. So for today, Sunday, as usual, I'm going to have some sandwiches. I have some ham and some cheese, some lettuce, some cucumber. And yeah, if you're new here, I'm diabetic. I have to cut some carbs, so I only really eat carbs for lunch on the weekend. During the week, I eat low-carb, keto-friendly lunches. I'm not a big breakfast person, so I don't usually eat breakfast. That's why you hardly ever hear me mention it. And yeah, dinners are just regular, normal dinners with carbs. So then tonight for dinner, I'm going to do some couscous salad with some shawarma. Then Monday, I do meatless Mondays. So for lunch, I'm going to have that tomato soup that I mentioned I'm going to make. So I'm going to make that today, so tomorrow all I need to do is warm that through. And then for dinner, I'm going to do a noodle bowl with some spicy green beans and some imitation chicken. And then with some peanut sauce or satay sauce. And maybe an egg. Haven't decided yet. But the chicken is vegetarian, not vegan, I don't think. So it's not totally vegan. That's why I can do an egg as well. But I try to not have meat on Mondays. So Tuesday for lunch, I'm going to do some green beans with some chicken. And then for dinner, I do Taco Tuesdays, so I'm going to do some pulled pork tacos. That's one of the things I'm going to use the pulled pork for. Since I'm going to make a bigger batch, because it's not worth making one batch, I'll use that for several meals. And then for Wednesday, for lunch, I'm going to do some broccoli rice. So that's broccoli stems cut finely with some chicken. And I'll just do a stir fry with some other veggies. And then for dinner, I'm going to have some lime cilantro rice with a salsa and some of that pulled pork. So for my soup, I'm going to leave some garlic cloves whole. Actually, I'll put them in here because this is all my soup ingredients. And then I need a little bit more garlic for things like my salsa. So I'll just cut that up. Then we were on Thursday. So again, I'm going to use some pulled pork. And this time I'm going to do some pulled pork in some lettuce wraps. And then for dinner, I'm going to do a grain bowl with some chicken. So, haven't fully decided yet what veg to go with that. I can do some, I have broccoli, I have green beans, etc. So I can still change my components out. So there we go. And then I have one more onion I'm going to do, but I'm going to dice this up. This is going to go in my salsa and also in what I'll have for Friday for lunch. Some tuna salad on some low-carb crackers. I need some diced up red onion for that as well. And then last on the meal plan for Friday, I'm going to do a poke bowl with some salmon. And again, I can do my broccoli that I'm going to prep or some other veg. I'll do some pickles. So yeah, this week I'm just going to be doing a lot of bowls. Rice bowl, noodle bowl, oat rice or mixed grains, couscous salad. Just it looks nice in pictures. So, and for toppings, one of the things I'm gonna do is slice up these spring onions just for garnish. So I just cut them at an angle, nice and fine. Then next up, let's do some peppers. I have a couple of them in different colors, just for different colors. I'll use that for my couscous salad, for the stir fry, and also I'll use some for my soup. So I'm just gonna cut them in half and clean them out. So for my soup, I'll use some red and some orange, just for color reasons. So I'll just slice up 1/2 of this red one and 1/2 of this orange one. And then the other halves and the whole yellow and whole green, I'm gonna cut into dices because that's what I need for my stir fry and for my salsa. So I'll cut it lengthwise first and then cut it across just like this into nice fine dices. And I'll do that for the rest of all the peppers. And next up, I have some chilies, I have some jalapenos, and I have some cayenne. The cayenne I will cut up to go in my soup. Just some slices. I'm leaving the seeds in because even for tomato soup I do like a bit of spice. And then I have a whole bunch of jalapenos, and I'm just gonna take the seeds out of that just because there's a whole lot more seed in there. So do the top off, cut them in half, take the seeds out, and I'll do that for the whole bunch. And then I have this red jalapeno. I'll just slice that up. That's gonna go in my soup as well. Make it nice and spicy. And the rest of these I'll just dice up by cutting them lengthwise, same as the peppers, and then cut them across. And those will go in my stir fry, in my salsa, etc. So I'll just do that for the same thing for the whole bunch. And then for my soup, I have a whole bunch of cherry tomatoes. I'm just going to cut all of these in half just to have them break down a little easier. So I have a whole big batch of them. Now I'll just work through it real quick. Okay, then next up, I have some celery. So part of that is going to go in my soup. So I'll just slice that up. So that can go in with the rest of my soup ingredients. And then this last one I'm going to dice up because that's going to go in my tuna salad. My tuna salad is just canned tuna, mayo, salt, pepper, some celery, some diced up red onion, and I'll probably put in some curry powder just for some flavor. I like a little bit of crunch in that. Then next up, some carrot. I'll cut half of it for my soup, so I'll just do some rougher chunks. I'm gonna blend up my soup, so the ingredients don't have to be too fine. And then I also want some for my stir fry, so I'll just cut that a little bit smaller. And I'll probably also use this with my green beans or my broccoli when I use that as a top for my noodle bowl or poke bowl. Then some parsley for my couscous salad. So let's just do a rough chop first. And I'll use part of it, like the stems and some of the leaves. I'll save that to put in my soup. And I'm just gonna give this a nice chop. And I'll keep running my knife through until it's nice and fine. And then some cilantro for my salsa and my lime cilantro rice. And that's the same thing. I'm just going to give it a rough chop first. Save the stems. Those are perfect for things like a curry paste. And just run my knife through until it's nice and fine. Then next up, I have some cucumber. So one I'm going to dice up for my couscous salad. So take the ends off, cut it in long slices one way, then the other way, and then dice it up. And I just like using these Persian cucumbers because they're nice and flavorful, but if you're using regular cucumbers like English cucumbers or maybe even some of those American cucumbers, you can totally do that. Just use a little less because Persian cucumbers are a lot smaller. And another thing I'm going to do with my second cucumber is to slice that up because that's going to go on my sandwiches. And then next up, some broccoli. Just cut off the florets. Like I said, I'll use that for one of my bowls. And I'll cut them into bite-sized pieces. And then the stem, I'll cut in half, make sure the little remnants of the leaves and stalks are off. And then I'll just cut that lengthwise. And again, if you've watched my videos before, you've heard me say this a million times. Cut it as fine as you want to. You can like up to grating it for broccoli rice, but I don't mind it a little bit chunkier. And it just saves a lot of work. But cut it as fine as you would like. And just toss away the very end bit that's kind of woody and dry. And I'll just do the second stem as well. And that will do me for lunch on Wednesday, because I'll use this instead of like rice or noodles to keep it low carb. And then last for the chopping, I have a bunch of green beans. And I'm just gonna top and tail them the whole lot. And there we go, that's all the chopping done. That took about 30 minutes. I don't know exactly how long, because my camera died midway through, so because I had to change my battery. But yeah, that took about 30 minutes total. So right now I'm going to put away the things I don't need anymore, and I'll start preheating my Ninja Foodies so I can make my soup and my pulled pork and then also my salsa. So I'll be back in a moment. So both my Ninja Foodies are preheated on saute and added a little bit of oil to both. So in one of them, I'm going to add my stewing pork, just some big chunks, and I just want to get a little bit of color on that. Doesn't need to cook through, just want a bit of color, and I'll add some salt as well. And then in my second Ninja Foodie, yes, I have two because I use them a lot, I'm going to add my soup ingredients, so that's celery, carrot, chilies, pepper, onion, garlic. That can go in with a little bit of salt as well. And I'm not adding the tomatoes to that yet because I want this to soften before I add my tomatoes. And while that is going, I'll quickly make my salsa. So here I have my diced up cucumber. I'll add a little bit of the jalapenos, some of the diced peppers, just different colors, some garlic. You know what, I'll put in some of the white parts of the spring onions as well, and some of the diced red onion. And to this I'll add some of the cilantro, saving the other half for my lime cilantro rice. I'll add 1 lime juiced, some salt, some cumin, and to mix this I'll just put the lid on and shake it. And that is the salsa done. Meanwhile, the pork has some color, so I'm going to add my yellow onion so that can soften a bit. And I'll add some chili to that as well. And the vegetables for my soup have softened, so now I'm just going to add my cherry tomatoes, and I'll cook those down for a little bit as well. Now that the meat has some color and the onions have softened, I'm just going to add some water so that the meat is mostly submerged. And I'll add some water to my soup ingredients too, because those have all softened as well. And then to my pulled pork, I'll add a splash of apple cider vinegar. And to the soup, I'll add my parsley stems, because I'm going to blitz up my soup. I don't want all that green in there, so I'm going to put them in whole so I can fish them out later. But yeah, now I can just put my pressure lids on. Make sure the valves are closed. This one's going for, the soup is going to go for 30 minutes. The pork is going to go for 40 minutes. So I'll just let that do its thing. And now I just wait. So you can totally just slow cook this or simmer this in a pot or whatever, but I have a pressure cooker, so that just goes a lot quicker. So just going to let that do its thing, and I'll check back in with you in a moment. So the soup and the pork is done. And like I said, for the soup, I'm just going to fish out the parsley that has done its job, has given the flavor. Now I just don't want all that green in my soup. And I will use my stick blender to get that nice and smooth. And here's the pork. I just took that out of the juices, and I'll just quickly shred that with 2 forks. And when I want to use this pork, I'll just warm that through with some barbecue sauce to make some nice barbecue pulled pork. But yeah, that's all the prep work done for this week. I can now have lunch or dinner on the table in minutes. If you like this kind of content, I do this every single Sunday. And if you'd like to see what I ultimately eat, you can check out my Instagram where I post every single meal. My Instagram is posted below. Or you can check out the video that I post about once a month on here where I show you a whole week of everything I eat in a day. But yeah, that was it for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching. Until next time, bye for now.